Hello, here we are.
Hello, world. How are you? All that matters to me. I'm Joe.
Is that your
You're
well?
Is that you're well? Nice one, Joe. How are you? Looking well there, Joe. Looking well there, brother. Looking
Oh, you
well.
can see me. Good, good.
I can see you. Yeah, you look. I like your t-shirt, brother. I like your
Everything's
t-shirt.
working. Yeah,
I like yeah,
well,
your t-shirt.
I'm wearing the Joker because politics is a joke right now.
Everything's a joke right now, brother.
Everything's a joke right now.
Everything is a fucking joke right now. And what I'm going to try and do this week, Joe, if I'm going to try my best to see, and I want everyone else out there to try and see, just how well I actually try and manage to contain my language tonight. What do you reckon, Joe?
I think I don't know. I'm feeling good about it. I think you'll do well.
I'm going to try my best. I'm going to try my best. So anyone watching this, right, folks, let us know. Message us and let us know what you think. Whether you let's see how far I can get on without any language tonight. But before we do, let's say a few hellos to some people. Let's say hello. Hello, Mel. Hiya, Dave Jigs Johnson. Hiya, Judith. Hello, sweetheart. I hope you're good. Hiya, Ian. How you doing, my good man? I hope that you're keeping safe. And hiya, Joe Owers. Hiya, brother. Much love to you all.
Yes, hello everybody. And so this week we are talking about Andy Burnham in Manchester, what's going on there. We're talking about Tier 3. We're also talking about Trump Pride. Yes, the Trump campaign did hold a Pride campaign event, which we will be looking at. So that's quite a few things to be talking about.
And also, I'm sure it's been mentioned somewhere before the end about Pope Francis, I think he's called. If you're into that sort of thing, but he made a pretty groundbreaking statement, apparently, less than a few hours ago. But we'll get to that in a bit. AML, everybody. Before we do carry on, can we ask you? Can you please click share? Can you please click share?
Yes.
From the Moston Manchester side of things, from the whole of the north of Manchester here. We'd like you to share it because we've got a big debate about to kick off, and we want your thoughts on it all with regards Andy Burnham, the whole scenario that happened yesterday. How dramatic was that, Joel? Did you watch it?
Well, I heard bits and bobs on the news. Obviously, Andy Burnham doesn't agree with how much money they're getting in Manchester. They just got £60 million from the government.
Today. They asked for 90. Yeah.
Some people were talking about them getting 22 million or something like that, but they got 60 million today.
So listen, what should we kick off with? Should we kick off? Joe, brother?
Yes.
Oh, if we don't mind, let's kick off with the whole Andy Burnham scenario yesterday, and we also would like you folks, please, while you're watching, anything at all that we're talking about, we desperately invite you to join us in the debate. Your comments are totally welcome, whether you agree with us or whether you don't. To anyone that's watching for the first time, please message, because that's what it's all about. And just before we do, I've got a couple more few hellos to say. Hiya, Paz. How you doing, brother? Hiya, Peter Rothwell. Hiya, Jeff Mason. How are you, my brother? Hope that you're good. And Paul Maximus Pritt, how are you this week, my brother? Glad for you to join us again. And Tony Power. Joe, let's kick it off with Tony Power, because Tony Power's made a comment here. So before I make my big long rant that I'm about to go into, because I'm flipping fuming.
Yeah, go on.
Andy Burnham goes to the top of the class for standing up for the people of Manchester, the way he is, the way that he has done. I've always said that he would have made a great Labour leader, and has had good positions such as Minister of State in the Department of Health. So he knows a thing or two about health situations. He was also Secretary of State for Culture. He has had his fair share of criticism as well, but he clearly is a man that would do better being in a ministerial position again.
Right.
That's Tony Power's thoughts on it. And Jay Duff has just said that apparently I'm being superciliously bombastic. Nothing new there, the name now.
What ministerial position was he in before?
Well, from what I've done, and I haven't been able to do my homework properly today, but obviously we all know of Andy Burnham, and we all know that he's the mayor of Manchester. But he did actually, if I'm not mistaken, he was in the running for the Labour leadership before Keir Starmer, that useless pile of fucking wet dog piss that he is, got the role. But so let's talk about Andy Burnham for a little while now.
Yeah.
My opinion on Andy Burnham is, folks, and I am saying this not to be provocative. I want your opinion. These are just mine. So, Tony, please don't think I'm being objectionable with you here. I think he's done a good thing here. I really do. I think they're standing up for the money that Manchester wanted, because let's not forget, originally the money that was requested was 90 million, which sounds like a lot of money, because obviously it is. But not on the grand scheme of things when you think of the size of the city of Manchester. And because we were going to, the chances were we were going to go into a tier 3 lockdown here, then the effect of that means that there's a lot of people whose businesses are going to need to be supported. A lot of money was needed. So asking for 90 million was not too much of a stake. But he asked for that amount of money, in my opinion, obviously, because he knew he wasn't going to get it. But he knew that they were going to offer him below. So anyway, they then lowered the request to 65 million, and the 5 million apparently was the thing that made talks break down. Now, Andy Burnham yesterday made this very dramatic statement outside the Bridgewater Hall in Manchester, where he was talking about how the talks had broken down. And I agree. I absolutely agree that it was great that he stood up for Manchester. But here's the thing for me about Andy Burnham. Before we go into the whole fuckery of Boris Johnson and his government, Andy Burnham is a career politician, folks. And there's things about him that I just don't like. I really don't. For instance, I don't know if any of you watched a recent documentary on the BBC called Manktopia, and it was a programme that was talking about the gentrification of North and East Manchester, where basically they're just forcing people out of their houses, and it's being completely gentrified and being called new names like New Islington and this, that, and the other. Anyway, Andy Burnham, in his wisdom, or whatever you want to call it, the guy he placed in charge, or overseeing, I think it was over 2.3 billion worth of development, was a property developer. Who is the man that's overseeing the property development? Now I ask you, a little bit weird, put it that way. But I think yesterday, forget Andy Burnham for a minute, the Tory government, the arrogance is now walking in territory that Thatcher walked in. Ego and arrogance are playing such a key role here now that you turn around and they went, well, I'll tell you what then, fuck you, we're going to give you 20 million and we're going to put you in lockdown. So deal with that, fuckers. And then walked away. And on that basis, I thought Andy Burnham did the right thing, because he came out and did a press conference first, and he knew that Boris Johnson was going to go live less than 20 minutes later. So he got in there first, and he made a very, very good statement. And a point to note as well, if you watch that press conference he did, there was a guy stood behind him, a sort of slightly chunky guy with a beard. Well, he is the mayor of Salford, I think he is. He's a very, very good man. He's a very conscientious, and he's a good politician. If you're talking about people with conscience, then he's the best man. But Joel, what do you think about this? Boris Johnson throwing his dummy out the pram yet again. It's like the kid in the playground that goes, "You don't want to do that. Well, that's my ball. I'm taking it in," and then walks off. This slapped ass prick that he is.
Well, I don't know.
What do you think?
I'm almost at a despair with politics internationally, because nothing makes sense. While Boris Johnson was mayor of London, I think he spent 55 million on a pet project of his. That doesn't equate to the Garden Bridge, yeah, to the Garden
47
Bridge,
million.
which
47 million. Sorry, Joe. 47 million of that money, by the way. 47 million pounds of that money that was spent was public money.
Yeah.
Now, they were asking for 60. In the end, they were going to settle at 65 million yesterday. He spent 47 million pounds of public money on a vanity project called the Garden Bridge in London. Sorry,
that never happened. That never happened.
That never came to fruition.
No,
never came to fruition.
And they're moaning over an extra £5 million on top of 60 for, a global crisis to help, and the money would go to help Manchester.
Not even help Manchester.
Ridiculous.
Not even help Manchester. It's not a vanity. The money wasn't asked for Manchester for a vanity project. It wasn't something to build. It was because the economic impact of lockdown, not just in the hospitality sector, but in all of the different areas of the homelessness, the funding that's needed for the people that are on benefits, they've got nowhere to live. There's 1,000,001 scenarios that he was asking this money for, and they didn't just turn him down. They went, it was the classic equivalent of a slapped ass bellend, turning his back and going, well, you know what? All right then, fuck you. You're not getting the money. And I tell you what, forget 60. You're going to get 20 million, and we're going to put you in tier 3 lockdown on Friday. Deal with it. And then walked off, the prick.
Yeah. I think it's petty. Again, as usual, petty politics. Maybe emotions are getting involved there. That he feels, I don't know. It's like having a personal grudge against somebody unless they interfere in, national and international politics.
I agree.
It's ridiculous.
But also, it's ridiculous. But I tell you what, it also does. It also makes a very, 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 very clear line. It's a clear definition. Again, he is reopening the north-south divide. It's always been there.
Yeah.
The money that gets pumped into London and the money that gets pumped in the north. But he's reopened the wound and he's made it very, very clear. I don't give a shit. The money gets controlled from here in Westminster, folks. And you up the north there, if you don't like it, fuck off. That's exactly what he said yesterday.
Yeah, and, they should be transparent. They should be totally transparent about all their financials and how they're distributing the money across the country. And let people, themselves see, instead of people trying to guess what's going on and then assuming one thing or the other and creating disputes and divides, they should be totally transparent. They don't want to be totally transparent because they're not. It doesn't seem like they're dishing out the money equally across the country.
Well, because they obviously aren't. That's just it. They aren't. Do you remember when the first lockdown started? Do you remember, folks, when the lockdown started? You had Nishi there with his big quiff and his posh accent, throwing money about. This magic money tree. He wasn't just shaking it. He was nurturing it and growing it. He was pulling money off the branches, throwing it about. We're talking about 5 million, which is a lot of money to you, all right. But on a national scale, on a citywide scale, a city the size of Manchester, 5 million really isn't something that should be quibbled about here.
No.
But the talks broke down. But with that in mind, the people they've got comments here from Tony Powell, who says he's had his share of problems, that's for sure. But he's a strong-headed politician. He is, Tony. But the thing is that he's a career politician. And in the words of Billy Connolly, and they're the finest words ever spoken, anyone who wishes to be a politician is the very reason they should never be allowed to be one. And he's a career politician. A career politician. There was an element of grandstanding done yesterday, which was fair enough. But anyway, he also says, what I admire about him is that he's not afraid to stand up for the people of Manchester.
Yeah.
Some would say that he has a bit of an ego issue. Well, I would also agree with that. Paul Maximus said that he stands up for the people of Manchester, so we're getting a lot of people here that are pro-Andy Burnham. Fair enough, folks. I'm all with you all the way. Tony Power also said, free travel for the under-18s in London is to end after half-term, as the Mayor of London wants to cut running costs. Is this fair? Good question. I'll come back to you, John, in a minute. He was also thinking about cutting free travel for the over-60s in a bid to cut costs. I can only say I wish him the best of luck when he goes for re-election next year. What are your thoughts on that?
To me, that's just a ridiculous cut. Why are they cutting it for free travel from, what was it, the school kids and OAPs?
Under 18s and OAPs. And weirdly enough, Tony, Tony and Joe, that vanity project that Joe and I were speaking about earlier, that when Boris Johnson was the mayor of London, this vanity project that he created, I'm sure you remember it. It was called the Garden Bridge, and it was this bridge that we were going to build over the Thames that had this like garden effect on it. I think it was 56 million was spent, right? 20 million of that money, guess where it came from?
Where?
TfL for London.
Right.
It was taken from TfL for London, which is an independent body. It isn't public money that or private money. It's a private. They have to turn a profit to maintain the transport system. He took 27 million off them because he was mayor for the building of that project. But also on the same point, David Johnson has said we had a career politician up in Birkenhead called Frank Field. Everything he did was to benefit him. He also is like Andy Burnham. He was a Labour member. He's independent now. Personally, this is David Jinx Johnson. Personally, I find Andy's perfectly styled and tinted eyebrows hard to watch. I do as well, to be perfectly honest, brother. I do. Ian Mitchell makes a very, very good point here. I don't know what your thoughts are. He said, it's a case of divide and conquer. Wouldn't you agree? I think that's a solid point there. Dave Jinx Johnson said that the North-South divide has been here since Churchill sent the gunboat up the Mersey to threaten striking Scouse dockers. Well, that's an interesting historical point that I'm not actually aware of, but I'll look into that, Dave. Nice one, brother. Barry has said, Matt Hancock spent the first 5 minutes of a 25-minute brief slagging off Andy Burnham. Obsessed or what? There you go. It's obviously with him. And Tony Power says, oh yeah, I remember the garden project as much as I remember the money Boris spent on fire engines some years back. Very well said, my brother. Remember that, Joel? Yeah, man. And also, we also spent a lot of money on this other vanity project, where he was looking towards having his name placed on the new runway that they were talking about building that was going to offset the pressure from Heathrow. Right. And it was going to be called Boris. What was it going to be called? Can anyone remember? Can you remember, Joel? Instead of building it in the Thames estuary, and it was going to be on an island.
Yeah.
Millions and millions and millions spent on this vanity project again of Boris. Just like Boris took over in London, folks. If you live in Manchester, they have push bikes that you can rent, and they were originally set up by what was his name? The Labour mayor. Anyway.
What, you mean the one before Boris? The one before
The one before Boris, go on. Go on.
Yeah, it's... shit,
yeah, exactly. I can't remember.
No.
Well, anyway, he was going to... this whole system of transportation on bikes was to relieve the congestion in London. When Boris became mayor, he took it over and now they're called Boris bikes. Vanity on the level of Trump. He's an absolute fat, gormless bellend, and I hate him. But Peter Rothwell said...
go on.
Go on. Just a comment here. He said, and of the 60 million, 12 million is being allocated just for test and trace, as if Circle and the rest aren't already raking it in. Bozo is picking off individual councils to divide and rule. They're doing the same with Sadiq Khan and TfL.
Yeah.
There you go, folks. What are your thoughts?
It's the same as, it's kind of similar to what I was talking about last week in terms of President Trump's Operation Warp Speed and the distribution of money there, and also with his COVID tax breaks and stuff. It's just politicians moving money about where they want it to go, and regardless of where it should go in the interest of the public. And there's no transparency. You can't see their financial records on where exactly, I don't think you can anyway, on where all their money is being divvied up and being put into place. Every single penny needs to be accounted for when it comes to the government, and we as the public can't do that, I don't think.
No, but as taxpayers we should do. But I mean, this utilising money like they did just today, almost in a hostage situation, where this isn't the way that it was dealt with by the Tories just today is nothing short of shameful. Because this isn't an ego thing we're talking about here. This is a place where they're about to put Manchester into tier 3. which means a lockdown scenario. But then Andy Burnham and the mayor, Andy Burnham and his associates have said, look, we're going to need this much at the very minimum to keep the infrastructure and everything else running. And also, let's not forget, the businesses are going to be to be subsidised, because otherwise they're going to close.
Yeah.
And their response was, well, tough, tough. And I tell you what, if you don't like it, here's 20 million. Forget the 60 you had, and we're going on lockdown on Friday. So fuck you. Slapped our Southerners. And by the way, it was Ken Livingstone, Joel. Ken Livingstone.
Yeah. Oh, that's Mitchell. It, yes. Ken Livingstone, yeah.
Yeah, Ian Mitchell's just told us.
You're in Manchester.
I am.
You've been in Manchester for a couple of weeks.
I have indeed.
What's it feel like? Have you been walking around anywhere?
Not really, because of the nature of because I got tested in it, because it was negative, and because I'm with vulnerable family members, and because I've got family members that are ill. Yeah. I've had to be very, very careful as to who it is that I come in contact with. But no, the sense in Manchester is I don't realise I don't think the Tories have realised what they've done here, because from what I can see, from what the people in Manchester that I speak to and that are sharing stuff, they have shot themselves in the fucking head here, because I think that it's safe to say that most of the Tories now, the Tory party now in Manchester has got the same level of hatred towards it as it did during the Thatcher period. And Andy Burnham has politically manoeuvred himself here into a situation where he's like a hero. I mean, and there's elements of me that say fair play, but then there's elements of me that just can't stop seeing him as the career politician that he is. And but anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point of the matter is the point. He stood up to him, and where did it get?
Yeah, well, he stood up to him, and it would appear he made it jump from 22 million to 60 million. Perhaps
today.
Today.
So fair play to Andy Burnham on that.
Kind of like a last minute